In the depths of your mind, something remarkable happens every time you form a thought or speak a sentence. It's a process so sophisticated that scientists are still uncovering its mysteries. This biological system, which burst into existence 1 lakh years ago, created something unique in our species, a computational engine that builds unlimited meanings from finite elements, allowing us to think in ways no other creature can. This discussion strips away layers of conventional wisdom to reveal the stunning reality of human consciousness, from the computational engine of language to the outer edge of what humans can possibly know. You will discover why children across the world master complex grammar without instruction, how power shapes thought itself, and what happens when we reach the limits of human comprehension. These insights offer a fresh perspective on the extraordinary system operating in your mind right now. Take a moment to think about the last sentence you just spoke. How did your brain construct it? The answer reveals something remarkable about human nature. While you might assume language is primarily about communication, the reality is far more fascinating. It's actually a computational system that evolved to serve thought itself. This becomes clear when you look at how your brain builds sentences. Just as you can combine Lego blocks to create infinite structures, your mind uses a fundamental operation called merge to build unlimited combinations of thoughts. Take a simple phrase like red house. Your brain merges these two elements into a new unit, which can then merge with other elements to form more complex structures. This operation is the foundation of all human language, and it's remarkably different from anything found in the animal kingdom. What's truly striking is how this system emerged. Unlike other biological adaptations that developed gradually over millions of years, language appears to have burst onto the scene between 50,000 and 1 lakh years ago. It transformed human cognition overnight, giving our ancestors the unique ability to think in ways no other creature could. While a chimpanzee might communicate immediate needs or dangers, only us humans can contemplate abstract concepts or imagine hypothetical scenarios. At least, as far as we know, the implications of this computational system go deeper than you might expect. Consider how your brain processes a sentence like instinctively, eagles that fly swim. You automatically understand that instinctively relates to swim, not fly, even though fly is closer. This reveals something quite profound about how language works. It operates based on structure relationships, not simple linear order. Your brain is applying sophisticated computational principles that you are completely unaware of. This explains why children across the world acquire language with remarkable speed and accuracy despite limited exposure. They are not just learning words and rules, they are activating an innate biological system that's already primed for human language. It's similar to how your visual system automatically interprets two-dimensional images as three-dimensional objects. You don't need to learn this because it's built into your cognitive architecture from the get-go. By understanding language as a computational system rather than just a computational tool, you can transform how you think about enhancing your own linguistic abilities. Instead of focusing solely on vocabulary or grammar, you might now take the time to appreciate how language shapes your very capacity for thought. Every time you learn a new way to structure ideas or combine concepts, You are actually expanding the computational power of your mind. Crazy, isn't it? So the next time you find yourself effortlessly understanding a sentence you have never heard before, remember, you are witnessing the operation of an extraordinary biological system that defines what makes you unique human. However, this system, while extraordinary, operates within specific constraints. The constraints that paradoxically are the very source of its power. This is what we will explore in the coming sections. Every time you learn something new, whether it's a language, a skill, or a scientific concept, you are bumping up against the fascinating boundaries of human understanding. What's remarkable is that these very boundaries hold the key to unlocking your cognitive potential. By understanding how your mind works within its limits, you will discover surprising truths that challenge everything you think you know about learning and comprehension. Consider how your mind processes music. When you heard a melody, you automatically organize the sounds into patterns, rhythms, and emotional meanings. You cannot choose to hear it as just random frequencies. Your brain is hardwired to find structure and pattern. This constraint isn't a weakness, it's what allows you to appreciate Mozart or instantly recognize your favorite song, like a river gaining force by flowing between banks. Your intelligence achieves its power through specialized limitations that shape your thinking. Understanding begins with the accepting what we cannot understand. When Isaac Newton introduced the concept of gravity acting at a distance, even he found it absurd. Yet this very concept revolutionized physics. Your brain operates within specific constraints that determine not just what you can comprehend, but how you comprehend it. A crucial distinction arises between what Chomsky calls problems and mysteries. On the one hand, problems are questions that fall within your cognitive architecture's capacity to solve, like understanding cause and effect or recognizing faces. Mysteries, on the other hand, might permanently exceed human comprehension due to the fundamental structure of our brains. Just as cat cannot grasp algebra, there may be aspects of reality that human minds simply aren't equipped to process. This biological reality challenges traditional philosophical approaches that treat the mind as somehow separate from physical constraints. Your brain is an organ evolved for specific functions, just like your digestive system processes certain nutrients but not others. These constraints form the very foundation of your cognitive capabilities. Perhaps nowhere are these constraints more fascinating than in how we use language to make sense of our world. As we will explore, language is more than just a tool for communication and thinking. In fact, it's the very framework through which we construct and understand reality. The way words and concepts interact in your mind reveals an extraordinary system for creating meaning, one that operates within these cognitive constraints while simultaneously pushing against them. Let's take a closer look. Imagine a society that has never seen color, communicating only in shades of gray. Suddenly, one person gains the ability to see red. How would they explain this entirely new concept to others? This thought experiment reveals something integral about how language shapes your reality, not just in how you communicate, but in how you actually think. Consider this: when you read The Unicorn Danced through the quantum realm, your mind effortlessly constructs meaning from concepts that have never existed in physical reality. This example shows how language functions as the operating system of human thought. Your brain combines abstract symbols in ways that transcend simple reference, creating new meanings that have never existed before. Words are not simply labels attached to pre existing things in the world. Instead, they are mental tools that help you carve reality in particular ways. Take a seemingly straightforward word like book. Is it the physical object, the content, the abstract work? If you say, "This is the same book I read last year," you might mean the same story, even its different physical copy. Just as our imaginary colorblind society would struggle to grasp red, we often struggle to pin down exactly what our everyday words refer to. What makes this even more fascinating is how these mental constructs work. When you use a word like democracy or justice, you are activating what linguistics call atomic concepts, fundamental units of meaning that cannot be broken down further, like the unicorn in quantum space. These concepts combine in intricate ways to create possibilities that exist nowhere but in human thought. That's why translation between language is so challenging. Different languages carve up reality in fundamentally different ways. When you learn a new language, you are learning more than new words for old ideas. You are gaining access to new ways of thinking about the world, much like our hypothetical person suddenly seeing red. This deep connection between language and thought reveals itself in fascinating ways. The patterns and structures within your language create the foundation for everything from your simplest observations to your most complex ideas. When word you learn really shapes your mental landscape, while each new grammatical pattern expands the realm of what you can comprehend. And here is the thing, by understanding language as the architecture of thought, you are actually unlocking new possibilities for cognitive growth. As you explore different ways of organizing meaning and building conceptual frameworks, you enhance your capacity for both thought and understanding. Each new pattern of thinking adds another dimension to your mental universe, enriching the endless possibilities of human consciousness. Before we explore the ultimate limits of human understanding in our final section, there is one more crucial aspect that shapes how our cognitive and linguistic capacities actually develop and manifest in the world. We have explored the internal architecture of thought and language in previous sections, but these capacities do not exist in isolation. They are profoundly shaped by social and institutional structures. This brief but necessary excursion will show us how power relations affect cognitive development. Before we return to our core investigation of what humans can and cannot know, the way institutional structures shape cognitive development reveals surprising truths about freedom, democracy, and human potential that directly affect our ability to fully realize our unique mental capacities. Let's begin by examining classical liberal thinkers who made a revolutionary observation. Society should focus on helping people grow and develop in all possible ways. Take Adam Smith. While most people know him as someone who supported free markets, he actually spent considerable time analyzing how certain forms of labor organization could impair cognitive development. He saw that when workers did the same simple tasks over and over, it degraded their capacity to think and learn. So he insisted that the government prevent this degradation of human potential, recognizes that institutions can either support or limit our ability to think and grow. This perspective evolved into deeper critique of power itself. When you examine your workplace, your government, or any institution that affects your life, you might ask yourself, what justifies their authority over your cognitive development? Anarchist thinkers, building on classical liberal ideals, argued that any system of power must prove its legitimacy or be dismantled and rebuilt from below. The goal is to create structures that enhance rather than restrict mental development and creative capacities. This tension between elite control and democratic self organization directly affects how human cognitive capacities can develop. Modern experiments in worker owned enterprises and participatory democracy show practical alternatives to traditional power structures. When workers control their workplace, when communities manage their own resources, human creativity and potential flourish in ways that conventional systems suppress. It's happening right now in cooperative movements worldwide, challenging assumptions about what's possible in economic and political organization. These insights, how social structures enable or constrict human cognitive development, will prove crucial as we return to our investigation of the mysteries of nature and the limits of human understanding. The way power shapes thought isn't separate from our investigation of human nature. It's vital for understanding of what kind of creatures we are. The questions that emerge when we study language and social systems all point to a deeper mystery. What can humans truly understand, and what might forever remain beyond our grasp? Let's go back to Newton's discovery of gravity. When he first proposed that invisible forces could pull objects toward each other through empty space, the idea seemed ridiculous, even to Newton himself. Yet this seemingly absurd idea revolutionized our understanding of the universe. This historical turning point reveals something quite profound about the nature of human understanding. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs come from accepting what initially seems incomprehensible. The question to understand consciousness and the relationship between mind and brain presents similar challenges today. Just as Newton's contemporaries struggled with the action at a distance, you might find it difficult to grasp how consciousness emerges from physical brain processes. But this apparent mystery doesn't reflect a flaw in our theories. It reveals something fundamental about how human understanding works. Think about how chemistry and physics eventually unified into a coherent framework, but only after physicists abandoned their original assumptions about what counted as a physical explanation. Similarly, understanding the mind might require letting go of traditional assumptions about what constitutes a satisfactory explanation. The key isn't to force mysteries into existing frameworks, but to develop new ways of thinking that accommodate what we discover. This perspective transforms how you might approach complex problems in any field. Instead of becoming frustrated when traditional explanations fall short, you can recognize these moments as potential opportunities for fundamental shifts in understanding. Just as Newton's incomprehensible gravity became the foundation for modern physics, today's mysteries about consciousness, free will, or the nature of thought might lead to entirely new frameworks for understanding reality. The history of science teaches us that progress often comes not from solving mysteries within existing frameworks, but from transforming how we think about the problems themselves. When scientists accepted that light could behave as both wave and particle, and apparently contradictory notion, quantum mechanics opened new realms of understanding. Similarly, accepting the inherent limitations of human cognition liberates us to explore new ways of comprehending the world. This perspective begins us full circle to where we began, with questions about language, thought, and human nature. The mysteries we encounter are not signs of failure, but indicates opportunity, pointing toward new ways of understanding ourselves and our place in the universe. By embracing these mysteries while working rigorously with the bonds of human cognition, you can engage more effectively with the fundamental questions that shape our understanding of reality. In this discussion, to what kind of creature are we? By Noam Chomsky, you have learned that language is far more than a communication tool. It's a computational system that evolved to serve human thought itself, fundamentally shaping how we understand and interact with reality. This remarkable system appeared suddenly in human history, using a simple operation called merge to create endless combinations of thoughts. While animals can only communicate basic needs, human language lets us explore abstract concepts and imagine what if scenarios. Your brain processes language through sophisticated principles you are not even aware of, working with specific mental limits that actually enhance your capabilities. These boundaries help explain why some aspects of reality might always remain mysteries to us, just as Newton's theory of gravity once seemed too impossible to grasp. Understanding these limitations changes how we tackle complex problems and open up new possibilities for human growth. When you reorganize language as the architecture of thought and embrace both its power and its boundaries, you can truly appreciate the extraordinary system that makes us uniquely human. Okay, that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to subscribe the channel and provide your feedback. We always appreciate your feedback. See you in the next one.